questions. This is the Quick Bite Podcast.
Welcome to the Quick Bite Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Klinger. Today, I have a special guest on, Kim DeCarolis. She is a strategist and consultant advisor to the restaurant and hospitality industry. She's been on both sides of the aisle, both from the restaurant brand side as well as the supplier side. So she's walked a really interesting path, having one foot in each world. But Kim is known in the restaurant and hospitality circles. She's a conference speaker, highly sought after, and a trusted friend and business advisor. I think you're going to enjoy this episode. So let's just dive in. Kim, it is great to have you on the Quick Bite Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here, of course.
Let's get started. Kim, what is the best piece of business advice that you've ever received?
I think this resonated at the last conference, but then also a good mentor and friend of mine, Greg Creed, always says, just to be your authentic self. The harder you're trying to format or put yourself in a bucket that perhaps isn't organic or isn't naturally you, you're never actually going to grow yourself. So just always being yourself and growing that person is something that in all areas of life that you should just genuinely focus on. And that's the best way to perfect your craft.
And what are the top 3 leadership qualities, in your opinion, that a great leader has?
This is a great question. And honestly, you sent me the questions and this one I had to think about pretty long. I think first and foremost, it's the willingness just to overall support your staff. And that sounds cheesy and on paper, but putting your staff first, allowing them to basically understand the assignment, explaining the why, not necessarily how to do it, because everyone has a different approach to a problem. So saying, this is the goal we're trying to accomplish and allowing them to get to that result by the timeline and however they need to do that. And then there's always just something about having a leader that invests in you. I've been very fortunate. My 2 bosses that I've had that are mentors and best friends of mine have always invested in me, whether it's challenging me to get outside of my circle, empowering me to say that you know how to do this, so why are you doubting yourself, are just some of the ways that I think I've grown in my career. And then always time, which sounds needy a little bit, but at the same time, it's what is unqualifiable when it comes to giving back to the community or your space or your church or your family. Is time. Is just, you never know how much you have. So if you are able to help grow someone and help invest in someone, I think that's just really, really invaluable, and a leader everyone will follow.
Well said. And for someone that is aspiring to a leadership role, tell me about the journey to get there. What, in your opinion, is a path for someone to reach a level of leadership?
So I think, in my opinion, the strongest leaders have organically gotten there. No one has showed up and said, I'm the best leader in the world. They're not on podcasts just saying that I'm the best leader. Their people are following them, right? It's because they've done the hard work. They've done the support. They've done the group. They've done the fostering to help people grow to the next level. I think there's also some selflessness that needs to happen where perhaps they're not the star of the show and they allow others to shine. With that being said, anyone will follow you anywhere with that type of support, and leadership that way, I think, is just a natural fit. You obviously can have, history has proven it. You can have dictatorships, you can have mentorships, you can have servant leaderships, but all of those roles are very organic in how they conduct themselves on a day-to-day basis. And so always putting your staff first, doing the right thing, just will organically show up to be, the type of leader you are and the people that follow you.
And what role does faith play in your business life?
This was a great question. So I think, having faith in yourself is something that naturally for me, I have a hard time with. Truly, I always am saying, there's someone better that can do this. There's, am I going to say the right thing? But having faith in yourself and then surrounding yourselves with people that you have a safe space to ask, how do I do this? Or can you teach me how to do this? Or does this sound correct? Is really where, you could say this from a larger level, religion, or you could say this just from the network of people. But overall, if you're just a good person, I think that really focuses on how you conduct yourself on a daily life. So it's just being a good leader and having faith that what you're doing is correct. Having faith that you're making the best decision you can right now is really how to put one day in front of the next. And that's just how I move myself forward.
That's great. And speaking of a good person, in your opinion, who's had the greatest impact on you professionally and why?
This is a great question. So I've had 2 people that have invested in me. Like I said, my 2 previous bosses. So first and foremost, I started wanting I majored in finance and marketing, and I was going to be a financial consultant, or excuse me, financial advisor. But I graduated in 2008. So no one was giving their money to a 22-year-old girl that just graduated college. And so I went and focused on the marketing side of my life. And my first boss, Mark Wayne, he was like, you need to get into sales. And I said, I'm never going to sales. I'm in marketing. And he said, well, I'm going to invest in you. I will train you everything I know. And if you don't like it, you can go back to marketing, no harm, no foul. And when I was working for him, I had a great time. There was an interim where there was a boss put in between us. And the person that was put in between us, I just felt didn't support me. And my open line was, I didn't trust her room I wasn't in. I didn't trust her as far as I could throw her, and I couldn't pick her up. So like there was no trust there. Right. So I was at a conference with Mark, and I said, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be resigning on Monday. And he was like, why? I said, I can't learn anything from this individual. I don't trust her. I'm teaching her. Like, this is a really pivotal point in my career. And he's like, well, what do you need? I said, I need either to work directly for you where I can learn and grow, or I'm just going to resign. I have another opportunity. And with Monday morning, our team meeting, which we had every Monday morning at 8 a.m. In office, back in the day when everyone was in office, he's like, Kim reports directly to me. If there's any questions, don't worry about it. And no one has ever been so supportive. And, I have 1,000 stories like this. And another one was a huge jumping point in my career where Jeremy Tyson I knew from working just collaboratively on Taco John's. Shout out to my team there. But we worked on Taco John's both as vendors, and he called me offering me an opportunity at Punch. And it was, a lot more pay. It was a lot more responsibility, a lot more opportunity. And, I told him when I was interviewing, I said, I think I can do it, but I hope I don't disappoint you. And he was like, I sought you out personally because I know you can handle this. And, it's just having those faith and those support has just been astronomical in the growth of my career, where people believed in me before I believed in myself.
Doesn't that have a natural connection back to what you just shared about faith? It's others having faith in you and you having faith in others, and it's all cyclical, and it's what really makes greatness, I think.
You and I, right? We organically met through Comcast and the company I was working at, and just working with good people and surrounding yourself with the faith that I have in our community in the hospitality space, that good people just hang out with good people. And there's nothing else to be said about that, and support each other in any way they can. So cheers.
Well said. And absolutely. I agree with that. And that's really the essence of this podcast. The goal of it to have us all understand each other a little better, know each other a little better, and make the community that much stronger. So that's exciting. Who's a company you admire and why?
This is a very good question. So I'm a little stuck on this one. So a company I admire, obviously, is the brand side. I have full respect for. So any restaurant concepts, cheers to you. You guys are wearing multiple hats. But then I love, for example, even, Comcast in and of itself with and correct me if I'm getting these names wrong, but like the restaurant incubator, or, having these innovative concepts that can come in and really electrify or spark brands and what they're doing. That's something that's really giving back, and is, let's just say, taking away from where people assume business is just for business. You guys are investing in some great startups that can truly make a difference to the consumer experience, to the brand experience, help them make money. And it's just, those to me are the brands that I think philanthropy is giving back. And I think that's something that big companies can lose sight of, right? But at the same time, seeing companies do that is always just pulls on my heartstrings. So I can't pick one, but a great example is that.
Oh, well, thank you for that. So can you tell me about a time that you faced adversity, and what did you learn from it?
I was on a really great panel with Alice from Crispy Crunchy Chicken. And, she shared an experience where she was just kind of put into a bucket based on appearance. And it was a great community, Women in Restaurant Leadership, which is a great group that is, sponsored with a great network of people. It's been 2 years since this group has been formed, and that was the panel. And she said, it's not just, obviously, one bucket. Everyone's put into a bucket and assumptions are made. And so one thing I've learned is that any adversity that you're facing is 90% of the other person's perception or their life experiences reflecting on yourself. And so if they had an experience that looked, felt, thought was similar to you, a lot of that experience is coming. And so when you do face adversity, I think one of the best things to do is really not make it about yourself and think about what the other person is going through or may have experienced, because that A, level sets it, and then B, helps rest yourself where you're thinking that it's all about me, or assumptions are being made, and say, I wonder what they've gone through. And I think that really just makes us better as understanding people in our space, but then also really changes the story of judging a book by its cover.
So, Kim, what is a fun fact about you that a lot of people might find interesting or surprised to learn about?
Yeah. So, I, was reading this and reviewing this, and I was thinking, what do I do that maybe not everyone does? Of course, I'm on the road 50% of the time every month. But I have happy hour with my 97-year-old grandma once a week. And look, I'm in Mexico, so it's allowed.
To
Cheers.
grandma. Yes, to grandma.
Yes, to grandma. And so my grandma is 97. She's in a nursing home, but she wears pearls every day. She gets her hair done, nails done, lipstick. And sometimes I'll stop by and I come from, running errands or wherever I'll be. And she'll say, did you go out in public like that? Yes. But there's a beautiful art of, that she still takes care of herself and, gets ready every single day. And our chats are truly like best friend chats where you're just real with each other and you have the best conversations. And she's one of my dear friends. So that's something that I would say is very special to me, more than a secret fact, but very, very special to me.
Wow. God bless your grandma. That's amazing. Love that story, Kim. So as we're talking on a lighter note about things, how do you unwind? How does Kim DeCarolis unwind? How much time a day do you try to find time for you? You're a very busy executive. What do you do to unwind?
Unwinding is a great question. Obviously, my background is very, very pretty right now. I would say that I love to get away with family and friends. I'm in Mexico right now, so it's really just being able to take a little check out. We're here for a long weekend, but being able to do that, and then obviously my unwinding is visiting my parents, visiting my Dorothy, my grandma. Um, Simple things like just watching, television with my husband at night and catching up on shows. That's always a big fight. You can't go ahead and Netflix will always be the first person to tell on you because you go to watch and you're like, this has already been watched. So, always making sure that we spend time at night, just hanging out, having dinner, just simple things like that. Being busy, I need to make sure I get everything done before I'm able to kind of unwind. So, little simple things, nothing super awesome. Walking the dog is one of my absolute favorite, my little princess. So, yeah.
I was about to ask you about that. I know I see a lot of pictures of your dog. If you don't follow Kim on Insta, she posts a lot of pictures about her dog. So big dog fan. I'm a big dog fan as well. I'm always posting pics about my dog too. So I love
Biscuit.
that.
How's Biscuit?
Biscuit's doing fantastic.
Good.
Chick-fil-A Butter Biscuit, by the way, is his full AKC registration name. Chick-fil-A Butter Biscuit.
I love
He's a
that.
handful.
That's awesome.
He's cute, but he's a handful. So Kim, finally, what is your why? What makes you tick? What really drives you? Where does all this passion come from?
So even in your question, that is my why. I never want to be thought of as someone that didn't come through and or abused my network or didn't have a conversation that was meaningful. I'm all about relationships. I'm all about networking. One of my big life lessons that I've learned is 2 deposits before withdrawal. And I take that with all of my relationships. And so my why is making sure that I hold myself to that. So when I reach out to someone, it's not always, what does Kim need now? It's Kim may have something for me, or she's just saying hello. During COVID, I played a game with myself. Obviously, everyone's trying to entertain them, where I called someone from the restaurant space just randomly on a day and I needed nothing. And I was just checking in on them. And I had a few people stop me mid conversation and they were just like, so what did you need? Nothing. I was truly just calling to see how you were doing. And, it to me was a little bit surprising that people felt that way when I was just calling to say hello. And so my why is just ensuring that I'm providing value for what I'm putting energy into. Like you said, I'm traveling a lot. So being away from my family and my loved ones, making sure there's a reason I'm there, making sure there's a reason that people want to take calls and that people want to hear what I think is either important or how I can bring value is really why I'm here. I've been exploring obviously different options of kind of next steps for me in my career and what do I want to do long term. And I'm finding it a hard time leaving the restaurant space because of the hospitality and that people are putting into it. And to me, that's the why, is what we're creating for the consumer experience and how we can make it better and how we can all be successful while doing it, and surrounding myself with the same amount of good family at home as I am on the road. And so that's something that I just personally, that fires me up. I love making sure there's a solve. I love bringing value to brands. I love making people's jobs easier. So yeah, so pretty simple, but the accurate truth.
And it shows in everything you do and the quality you bring and the care that you do it with and your empathy and compassion for others. And you're always willing to have a conversation. I know people want your time a lot. I see you after a show and you're on stage speaking. And then, folks, she'll have people lined up wanting to talk to her. And she just takes her time with each one like they're the only person in the room. And I think that's pretty remarkable because a lot of folks they kind of get lost in the fact that it really still is about people and it's about the community. And I think that's why you are so valuable to this industry. And I'm glad to hear that it's something that you find very passionate about and that you're probably going to be in for a while. Let's hope. I think we're better.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I can't get over that people forget, and I think these are just friendly reminders of human nature, is when you come in somewhere and they say, hi, how are you? And saying, I'm good. How are you? Or you ask a server when they come over to get your drink ordered, or like you make a joke and make it light. But, my big joke is when they're like, what can I get you to drink? I'm like, oh, well, I can't take drinks from people I don't know their names. What is your name? And, oh, I'm sorry. And then I'm like, okay, I'll take a water with lemon and whatever the table wants. But like, it's still just making sure that we humanize everything. And, the world is getting very automated and there's a lot of benefits to that, but just staying with the human nature and making sure that we remind each other of just being kind every day and every interaction. You never know what impact that has on someone, whether you know or you don't, with no receiving factors, or making sure it benefits you is just something that a nice world reminder, especially during the holidays.
That's right. And, I'm going to restate what you said a while ago. I'm going to write that down. Remember it. 2 deposits before you make a withdrawal.
Yep.
That's really, I think, very impactful. That's a good lesson to learn for anybody. So Kim DeCarolis, thank you so much for being on the Quick Bite podcast. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. Check her out on LinkedIn and social media. You'll love her insights. And of course, if you're at some of the big conferences in the restaurant and hospitality industry, good chance you're going to see her on stage speaking. So it's been an honor to have you here, Kim, and I hope you enjoy your time in Mexico. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Brian. You're the best.
The Quick Bite Podcast is proud to shine a spotlight on Giving Kitchen, an incredible nonprofit serving the food service community in times of crisis. From unexpected medical emergencies to natural disasters, Giving Kitchen steps in when life takes an unexpected turn. To learn how you can help support those who serve us every day, visit givingkitchen.org. And while you're at it, subscribe to the Quick Bite Podcast, where leadership meets heart, and join us in making a difference, one episode at a time. Quick Bite Podcast. Bite-sized conversations, big-time impact.